Reports of the demise of the mid-sized sedan at the hands of the SUV are greatly exaggerated. Sure, there's not as many of them on the road now as there were 20 years ago, but they're still a great driving alternative. And one of the most fun ones you can get is this, the Hyundai Sonata N Line. There's only one spec of the Sonata available in Australia, and it's the range-topping N Line, and that's okay because it looks awesome. I mean, it is so much more interesting to look at than any other mid-sizer on the road. In fact, in the first 10 minutes I had this car, I had someone stop me in the street and ask me all about it, saying, you know, should I upgrade my 20-year-old BA Ford Falcon XR6 to one of these? I said, yeah, how's that even a question? The Sonata shares a number of design cues with the smaller i30 sedan, including this big shell-shaped front grille that swoops open in a nice glossy black and the headlights that swoop back too. But it's the driving lights that are this car's most distinctive feature. They start down here at the bottom of the bonnet and come up where they join with this chrome strip that runs all the way back to the C-pillar, loops up over the top of the windows and comes back down. From the side, there's more nods to the i30 with these creases that run the entire length of the car, and this sort of coupe shape here at the C-pillar reminds me a little bit of the Kia Stinger, but it's these wheels that I think really steal the show. They're 19 inches, but they actually look a bit bigger, but they're really busy and interesting, and they're black and they're silver. There's a lot going on. At the back, we've got crab claw shaped tail lights like the ones in the outgoing Honda Civic, a nice little black lip spoiler here, and quad exhausts, which if you have a closer look underneath the car, you can see it's really just a dual exhaust, only one pipe running into each of those. They've just put a divider in between them to make them look bigger. Another cool party trick this car has is that if you're standing here with your hands full of shopping and you can't get to your key, the boot will open for you. But it's not doing it now, because you're watching, it gets embarrassed. But just try to imagine that this happened by itself. In there we've got a 510 litre storage space, which is bigger than the Mazda 6, but smaller than the Toyota Camry. It's heaps of room. The N Line scores a top spec engine. It's a good one. A 2.5 litre turbo that outputs 213 kilowatts of power and 422 Newton meters of torque. It sends its power to the front wheels only, I wish it was the rear, via an 8-speed dual clutch wet transmission, and has a 0 to 100 time of around about 6 seconds. Fuel economy is sort of average at about 8.1 litres per 100 kilometres. So from all of this, it might seem like I think that the Hyundai Sonata N Line is the best mid-sizer on the road. Well, there's just one big problem. Me. I don't fit in this car. I've lowered the seat as far as it will go, and no matter what I do, my head is pretty firmly against the ceiling here. Every time we go over a speed bump, straight up into the top there. This is really disappointing because I actually was seriously considering this car as a replacement for my Honda Civic this year, but now it's off the list. But if you're shorter than me, and frankly a lot of people are, then it's fantastic. It's really, really good in fact. But there is a lot of grey plastic in here, and much of it is sort of harsher and scratchier than I think it should be for a car at this price point. But the design itself is actually really attractive. I like what they've done here with the center console screen with the piano black plastic sort of wrapping around. The software that runs on this screen is the latest and greatest Hyundai software. It works fantastically well. The navigation is brilliant, and you can control all sorts of things in the car, like the volume of the alerts that you get while you're driving, the startup sound, and the customization of the drive modes. The infotainment system itself also runs Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but you will need a USB cable to use them. It's connected to a 12-speaker Bose sound system, which I'm a little bit disappointed with. It actually sounds quite tinny. Climate controls sit underneath that. They look a bit better than the ones in the i30 sedan, which I think look a bit like a 1990s car stereo. These look a bit more contemporary. You can also control the seat heating and ventilation from there, as well as the heated steering wheel controls. We've got 2 USBs underneath that, plus a wireless charging pad for your phone. Then we have the gear shifter, which, as you can see, is not a typical affair. There is no actual physical lever, it's push button, which I think actually works really well in an SUV, but here, I don't know, it kind of detracts from the sporty nature of this car, only being able to shift gears by push button, but I don't know, you do get used to it. Some more piano black here, which gets lots of fingerprints on it, if I'm honest. We've got the drive mode controls here, a couple of smallish cup holders, but we do get a nice big center console bin underneath this soft touch lid. Head-up display up there on the windscreen. You can control the look and position of that via the center console screen. Then we've got an all-digital instrument cluster, which changes its look depending on which drive mode you're in, and being that there's only really 2 drive modes, there's 2 different looks. You get some basic car information on the screen in between that, but unfortunately no navigation. The steering wheel is the new Hyundai N steering wheel, and I wasn't really sure about this at first, and I know it's caused a bit of controversy amongst some other reviewers, but I actually quite like it. I think it looks good. It's got red stitching, it's leather wrapped, and has quite a nice feel to it. It's just a little bit different. The seating position, as I mentioned before, is way too high for me, hence the lack of headroom, but there is good visibility right to the front of the bonnet, good through the rear vision mirror. We've got blind spot monitoring in the side mirrors, and also each of the side mirrors is equipped with a camera. So when you turn the indicator on, one of the dials here on the instrument cluster turns into the view from that camera, which really does help you see what's going on in your blind spot. The seat itself is a reasonably comfortable bucket. It's Alcantara with leather accents, and I don't know, for me, again, probably because I'm tall, it's just not the most comfortable seat ever. There's lumbar support, but you can't move it up or down. It's sort of stuck in the one position, which isn't really quite right for me. One nice little design cue I do like on these doors is this metal line here that turns into the door handle and swoops around. Well, the back seat of the Sonata N Line is a similar story to the front, at least for me anyway. Being tall, my head pretty much firmly against the ceiling there. Knee room's pretty good though. There is a hard plastic shell here, which I'm not a fan of these because nobody wants to have their knees up against that while they're on a long road trip, but it is what it is. We've got a matte pocket here, privacy blind on the window, should you desire a bit of shade or just a bit of privacy. Air vents, 1 USB for your kids to fight over. The seat back here is a nice Alcantara covered, leather accented bench. The outboard seats are heated and they're controlled by a button here on the armrest. Got another center armrest with 2 cup holders as well. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention when I was sitting in the front is that there is a rear window blind which you can control from the ceiling controls. The Hyundai Sonata has been around in one form or another for over 30 years, and by offering it only in N Line spec, Hyundai have managed to turn what was a very bland, middle-of-the-road mid-size sedan into something that's actually a bit of a performance machine. The thing that I think Hyundai do so well with all of their N Line cars is they make them chameleons. They're very easy to live with and drive politely around town on a daily basis, but if you want to put your foot down, have a little bit of fun, the power is there. It comes on straight away. Unlike the regular N cars, which are just insane, you can drive one of these every day and not get into trouble. The suspension in this car is firm. I mean, it's not a soft rider. My wife was riding in it the other day and she said it was one of the firmest cars she's ever been in. Well, I mean, it's not quite as bad as a regular N car, but it's sporty. Okay, let's do some down changes. Very smooth. That wet dual clutch transmission, you don't feel or really even hear a thing. Okay, 0 to 100 in the Hyundai Sonata N Line is around about 6 seconds. So let's have a little feel of what that's like. Getting up to that red line so quickly. And the noise. My question is, do Hyundai need to make an N version of this car? I don't think so. I mean, this is great. There is a bit of torque steer when you put your foot down, and that's just the joys of front wheel drive. I wish it was rear wheel drive. That's the only thing I'd really want to change about this car, plus being able to lower the seat a bit further. It feels a little bit like a slightly pared back Genesis G70. I mean, that's a rear wheel drive V6 turbo monster. And this one's obviously got a slightly smaller engine and it's front wheel drive. But there's just that same sort of mix of sportiness and refinement. I would love this car so much. I do love this car so much. If only I could get comfortable in it. So if you're a bit of a rebel and you don't want to join the masses behind the wheel of an SUV and you're looking for a fun, practical, dynamic sedan to get you around town, then the Hyundai Sonata N Line could be for you. Just not me, because I'm too bloody tall. That's discrimination.